Hello and welcome to another edition of Chiodini's Kitchen, video game recipes made real. Now, this week's recipe is a little bit different because ordinarily we try to recreate a foodstuff from a video game and make it look nice, and then sometimes it comes out looking disgusting. This week we're deliberately trying to make something that looks disgusting but tastes really nice because we're making the Resident Evil 7 Baker's Family Dinner. So, in case you weren't in the know, in Resident Evil 7, Marguerite Baker is very fond of serving up this evil-looking slop to the people she has captive in the house. And that is what I've been charged with making. So the idea here is to make something a little bit murky and suspicious and frankly gross looking, something you might think twice about trying based on looks alone, but that tastes really, really good. And for that, Chili Colorado is the perfect recipe. This is actually one of my favourite things to cook in the world. I discovered a recipe just over a year ago and I've made it more times than I can count since then. It's honestly delicious. Here's what you'll need. A few cloves of garlic, some chicken stock, a bay leaf, some cumin, some Mexican oregano, or normal oregano if you can't find that, some dried ancho chilies, some dried pasilla chilies, and some dried guajillo chilies, or New Mexico Reds, if you're in a pinch, which I am today. Most important of all though is some pork shoulder. I've got about 700 grams there in steaks. Now, it's very important you get pork shoulder, not pork loin or pork chops, because pork shoulder is the stuff they make pulled pork from, meaning the longer you stew it, the more tender it becomes. Pork loin goes firm when you cook it, which just isn't as nice a texture in this particular dish, so make sure you get pork shoulder. And with that, step one is to cut up, well, let's call it 3 cloves of garlic, very small, and then cut your pork into manageable cubes. Right, now that's all chopped, we're going to make about 800 millilitres of chicken stock, and then in a large pan or casserole dish, we're going to start frying up the garlic and then the pork chunks. Okay, so once you've reached this stage whereby your meat is mostly sealed and it's starting to cook through, we've still just got a few pink bits left in there, but that's okay. You're going to get hold of some ground cumin and add a pretty generous amount actually, I'd say maybe 2 teaspoons. There we go. And stir that through. To coat, and then add probably about half of your chicken stock. Let's see, maybe less than half, just enough to coat basically, and then pop in your bay leaf. Now we're going to bring that back to the boil, cover it and leave it to simmer while we get on to the next step. Hang on a minute, I actually forgot the Mexican oregano, which is this. You're going to want to add about a pinch of this to your pork, but don't go mad with it. It's a really potent herb. It's kind of pungent, a bit like tarragon, and if you put in too much, it really will take over the entire dish. Alright, for this next step we're going back to the chopping board and preparing our chilies, because from left to right we've got 2 pasilla chilies, that's an ancho grande, and that is a New Mexico red. And what we want to do is remove these stalks and all the seeds, and then cut them up into manageable chunks, because we're going to add them in to our chicken stock. Now what you want with these chilies is a texture kind of like a dried raisin. You don't want them to be really brittle, because that means that they are either overly dried and a bit ruined, or just a bit old. So now we've got our nicely de-seeded and cut up peppers, we're going to take the heat off from under the stock, There's the knob. Grab these and just throw them in. There we go. Give them, oh dear, steamy, a very quick stir. And then we are just going to cover those with a lid and leave them to sit for about half an hour. Alright, so while our chilies are brewing down into a kind of meaty, spicy tea, I just want to reiterate it is important you use chicken stock for this, not vegetable stock, because chicken stock has a sweetness which I think, in my opinion, because I've made it both ways, counteracts the bitterness that can be inherent in some of the chilies. Of course, if you are a vegetarian and you did want to make this dish, I would recommend you sub out the pork for 2 cans of black beans, so that's about 800 grams, and then vegetable stock, and consider adding some tomato paste to sweeten it up a little bit. It kind of changes the recipe, but it's still pretty tasty. Alright, so our pork has been simmering away there quite nicely, and over in this pan, you'll see that we've got some fairly well stewed, come on, focus, come on, there we go, chilies in the stock. The next step is to grab a hand blender, get in this pan, and very carefully, so it doesn't splash up the wall or anything, just start to blend this together. So that's blended, and hopefully now you can start to see why I picked this recipe for the Baker's family dinner, because we've got this lovely thick morass of very dark, nearly black goo, which we are now going to add into the pan here. Now what we need to do is turn the heat up a little bit under this and start simmering it down, and as it goes it's just going to turn into this really thick, slightly glossy goo with unidentifiable chunks floating in it. In other words, it's going to be a little bit intimidating. Now you should simmer that down nice and slowly, preferably over a few hours. So really, apart from stirring it every now and then to make sure it doesn't stick to the pan, there's nothing more for you to do. So, you know, kick back, manage your inventory, try not to get murdered, you know the drill. So this, everybody, is Marguerite's Baker's family stew. Looks pretty weird, tastes amazing. But the problem is I know all this already because I made it, so I can't do the taste test. I need willing test subjects.
That smells good, don't it?
And as if by magic, we're in Brighton with 2 unwitting test subjects.
Editing.
Hi friends, how's it going?
Sorry?
I've roped in Chris and Aoife to try what I've prepared for the both of them. I'm going to heat it up now. Okay. You're not allowed to look. Let's see how this goes. Shut your eyes.
Okay. Well, I can't smell anything yet.
Yeah, me neither.
And I swear to
Is
God,
it there?
if you
I feel weird that you haven't told us what was in this.
Open your eyes.
Oh God.
Oh, okay. Lovely. It's very dark and brown, Johnny.
Yeah, there's mystery meat in there.
Oh yes. I actually can't tell you what meat that is.
It smells
Beefy?
quite spicy.
It's
beefy, yeah.
related. I'm gonna get that crud.
Yeah, I've played the game. I know what happens, Johnny. Like, that's why I'm letting him.
That could
first.
legit just be a bunch of human flesh.
Human flesh. Have we seen The Office Intern?
It's mystery meat and some kind of nice gravy. Is what I'm getting. Oh, do you know a bit about this? If you know it, like when he does these videos.
Yeah.
He always says smart things about the food.
I know.
Afterwards.
I've noticed as well, Johnny, that you chew your food for a really long
Really
time.
Oh, wait, this with his hair.
When he's thinking, he's formulating.
Stop stalling.
Okay, right, we do it together.
Okay.
Ooh. Quite nice.
That's right. Oh, it falls apart in the mouth very well.
Yes, very soft.
Good job. Well microwaved.
I was expecting a bit more spice heat to it, but there was a lot of flavour there.
Yeah, that's alright.
I feel like
it tastes better than it looks. I guess that's what you're after.
Yeah, Marguerite got a raw end of the deal. Nobody eating her food because that's quite nice.
And then we go for a
Go
little
for
bit.
another bit. If she had served it with rice or something, I feel like.
I feel like a little bit of rice would have gone down quite nicely here, Chiellini.
That's exactly what you're supposed to eat it
A
with.
bit of rice.
I can tell you what you're eating. That is pork, chicken stock, a bit of garlic, and then just chilies. That is all you're eating.
It's good, man.
Yay!
Lovely.
So I think that went quite well. They were suitably intimidated by the actual thing, and they're still eating it, so I would call that a success. So there really remains nothing else to be said other than thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Chiellini's Kitchen. If you did, there are more for you to check out, and please do keep suggesting recipes, because it's nice when we make things you want to see. Though, I know about Skyrim. I will make a Skyrim recipe, I promise.
Make a
Make a
sweet
sweet roll!
I will.
Unusual taste, or whatever that's called.